getting started on bag 6. So very first thing that we're going to do is build Robbie right here. And we don't mean Robbie the robot. We're talking about Robbie Robertson. Of course, he's a mainstay of the Daily Bugle offices. And I really love what they did with this minifigure. Now, there's some things about it that I wish were maybe a little more traditional, but the same could be said for practically any of the characters that are in this set. I think that the LEGO design group really went with more modern looks for a lot of the characters, and that's fine. I don't necessarily expect them to have, looks right out of 1971 or something. So it's understandable. All right, let me find Robbie's torso here. Here's his legs. There it is. And let's put them together. I always thought Robbie should have had more of a role in the Raimi films. The guy who played him did a good job. I always thought he did fine with what little he had on screen. Let me see, does he have double-sided? Yep, have more of a smirk back there. But I always liked the insinuation in the Raimi films that Robbie knew full well who Spider-Man was. He would shoot Peter those like really big looks sometimes. And, in the comics were much the same, where it was sort of implied that Robbie kind of had the inside track on knowing who Spider-Man was. So I always liked that little bit of mystique there. Not the X-Men character, just, the word mystique. Sometimes it's not about comics. All right. It looks like we're going to be building an entirely new floor here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, we start out with one of these. Looks like we have to dip into our random parts bag. Yeah, that should be it. Okay. And this one, I assume we're just making the floor right now, just the main supports. Okay, looks good. I'm willing to bet that this has sold remarkably well for them so far. Because most of the people I've talked to that have looked for this thing in the LEGO store or whatever have said that it's really scarce. Then, of course, it got put on back order very quickly after the VIP sale. So, yeah, I'm thinking that this has done incredibly well for them. I'm thinking that bodes probably really well for future kind of D2C sets for Marvel, which is something we really hadn't seen before, unless I'm not thinking of one. I'm thinking we're looking at a new kind of era for the Marvel sets. It's kind of hard to believe they weren't already doing that, actually. figured out what I did wrong. Okay. This has to be some of the most confusing parts of the build because you have so many pieces that are just varying wildly in length, and they all look the same. Well, get on there. Like I said, there's kind of a mental break to some of these kind of more monotonous little parts of the build. I don't know. It's like you don't have to think about where you're putting the pieces. It's kind of a funny thing to say, but sometimes that's nice. Like I said earlier, there's some truly confusing elements to this build in this section. It's almost like if you're going to mess up, this would be a fine section to do it. Some of these pieces are nearly identical with very, very small changes, which I guess makes it a little more challenging. Adds a little interest to the build. There it is. Okay. Well, sometimes building Lego can be dangerous. It's when your tripod's no good. There we go. I don't know which villain we can blame that on, but stay. All right, time to start building what I believe is an orange floor. Kind of a yellowy orange, I guess. It's not often you get to say that. Time to build an orange floor. Hey, Charles. You doing all right? Okay. Goes there. Really liking this this color here. It's vibrant. When I see this color on a floor, I can't help but think of like 70s carpet. So we're gonna say this is the Nicholas Hammond 70s Spider-Man Daily Bugle. That's what we'll say. Guy who played J. Jonah Jameson in that show was actually really good. Which is funny because he was as bald as J.K. Simmons is in real life, so kind of foreshadowing. But he was good. Say what you will about that show, but I liked it, especially when I was a kid. It was, of course, the only live-action version of Spider-Man, so... Well, in the United States, anyway. That's a whole nother story. I wonder if any of you all have watched the Disney Plus documentary all about the Japanese Spider-Man show, the Toei Spider-Man. Really good documentary. Really good. I learned a lot of things. course, I still remember when I was a teenager trying to find information and clips of that show on the ancient internet. Way back when. I mean, at that time, I was just shocked to find out things like the Power Rangers wasn't a purely American creation. So, kind of amazing how far we've come in terms of cataloging all that knowledge. There we go. Had the wrong piece in there. Yeah, it's a great one, that's for sure. If you ever are just, and I think you can look this up. There's no official release of the entire show, but I think it was 1978 when the 70s Spider-Man show came on, the live-action one with the real actors and stuff. It's certainly worth watching once. And then there are some really good episodes in there. There's one about Spider-Man being cloned, which I actually think was kind of before they started doing some of the clone stuff in the comics. So it's funny how it ended up predating that a little bit. Robert Vaughn plays this crazy mad scientist who's into cloning, and Spider-Man has to fight his, evil duplicate. One of these days, clones are going to they're going to start a class action lawsuit against Hollywood for all the times they've been portrayed as evil. Maybe Dolly the sheep can get in on that. I'll tell you another really weird Spider-Man show is Spider-Man Unlimited, which is on Disney Plus, and it's a strange show. It's supposed to be kind of a follow-up to the Spider-Man the Animated Series, but man, is it weird. It's where Spider-Man goes to an alternate Earth where everybody's like animal people. Spider-Man, for copyright reasons, isn't allowed to fight any of his normal villains except for Venom and Carnage because they had the rights. That was kind of in limbo to Spider-Man live-action movie. Spider-Man never even wears his regular costume except for the first episode and then a flashback in one of the other episodes. So it's a real screwy situation in that show. But it's not horrible. It's watchable. I think it's better than like the weird Avengers cartoon they did at that time. I think it was called Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes or something. I assure you it was not Earth's mightiest show. I'll tell you that much right now. It was bad. It's so easy to mess up on the patterns on these floors. This is the second time in like no time that I've messed up on this. There we go. Looks like I'm building a cheese floor. That's what I'm going to say it is. It's a special, it's like Willy Wonka's factory. Each floor of the Daily Bugle is something really strange. At this rate, I'm expecting to see Wallace and Gromit walking around. And that is a wild looking floor. Kind of reminds me of the Guardians of the Galaxy ship, that shade of yellow, that kind of orangey yellow. What was it, the Benatar, I think? Or as I call it, the Pat Benatar. All right, solid yellow now, or orange, whatever you want to call it. All right, now what? Looks like we're building up some walls. Set this over here. Adjust my light. Yeah, really. I was actually surprised by all of that. I thought it would just be kind of plain Jane, just sort of gray, but no, it's actually very colorful. Especially as you build it. You know, some of the color is going to be obscured, of course. But especially in the process, it's incredibly colorful. It just pops. It's my favorite kind of build anyway, where it's not, you know, monochromatic. And it's like even things that are great, like the 89 Batmobile. Like, that's an incredible build. And the inside of it has a lot of colors going on because Lego's trying to differentiate it as you build and make it a little easier. But, you know, all of just that same color, black pieces, over and over and over again, sort of, you know, it's sort of dour. So it's great whenever they have a little bit of artistic license with something like the Bugle here, which has looked, you know, dozens of different ways over the years. There's not really one specific, definitive look for the Bugle, which is the way it should be. It should be kind of in flux. course, the Daily Bugle, like other comic book locations, exists in kind of a sliding scale of time. I suppose the Daily Bugle will always be supposed to be a modern newspaper building, no matter how long it's been around. Let's keep saying it got remodeled or something. Okay. Of course, I guess it's the same thing for the Daily Planet. Or see, I got so excited I added an extra piece. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very monochromatic. But talk about, you know, a timeless design, though, the 89. Oh, yeah, dust magnet. Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I have never in my life... I've actually never owned anything in my collection that collects dust. And I have, you know, thousands of things in my collection, but I have never, ever owned something that gets the kind of filth on it that the 89 Batmobile does. I have no idea. I guess it's black and everything shows up. But also, I think just the material itself just seems to stay magnetized. I don't really know what makes that, but maybe there's some kind of scientific explanation. I mean, I had mine like in a shelf that was covered, and the other day, just to make it halfway presentable for a live stream I was doing, I had to dust it off, you know, 10, 15 minutes, just so that it would look halfway decent, like not even great even. So maybe the Daily Bugle won't give me that kind of trouble here. I think these might be elevator doors. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Or they're made to look like faux elevator doors. Of course, they don't appear to function at all or anything. There we go. Okay. Now it looks like we're making some of the buttons beside the elevator. Here we have more of what I call the suction cups. Guess suction for other Lego pieces. All right. Looks like we add two of the little red disc pieces. These are like the buttons on the elevator, I guess. Red's another really difficult color to tell about when you're looking at the Lego instruction manuals. You're never exactly sure if it's like a brighter red or more of a darker burgundy. It's one of those things you're bound to get wrong at least a couple of times. Okay. And these go on the outside. Imagine this is where we'll be putting those supports. Go along the outside of the building. Okay, now for something completely different. We're going to be building part of the fire escape, which is a pretty prominent feature on the outside of this thing. I love that they're just using the primary bright red. It's just more fun. Looks nice. You know, I think this is my favorite color of brick, just that bright primary red. There's just something about it. I think it goes back to my childhood or something. Just that bright primary color. And this is what I get for trying to go out of order. I'm supposed to do this before I put the railings on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that off. That's better. That looks good. I believe that's a connector for the actual ladder piece. Here's our red ladders. There we go. That's interesting. I guess that's where it folds up to go to the next floor. All right. It looks kind of neat folded up like this. Yeah, that's cool. There we go. Had an extra little piece in there that I didn't need. Now this should fit flush right next to the floor. Okay. Robbie was so excited. Hey, man. So let's see. Okay. Back to building windows. course, it's great that Lego has finally made a more traditional kind of skyscraper, which is great because I think it's going to cause this set to have a lot of crossover appeal. I think there's going to be a lot of people that just get it because it's an awesome looking building for their Lego city. Of course, I don't really have the resources or the room to build one of those giant Lego cities. But it's awesome for the people that can, though. Oops. It's funny, my Lego city would be nothing but like fantasy buildings. I do not think that I own the right sets to create any sort of realistic architecture. It would all be, there'd be a bunch of things in it that would just defy logic. I wonder if I could create a Lego city that had a bunch of Lord of the Rings sets like involved in it. How about like a Central Park that is mostly like medieval knights and Lord of the Rings sets? Now that would be funny. Okay. Now I'm going to be doing some work on the top, the walls here. So there's one. There's one. Yeah, I really do like modular buildings, but it's not something that I've ever invested a whole lot of time or money in. And several of the, fantasy kind of buildings that I own have modular capability. Do you own the Ninjago City Gardens set? That's something that actually appealed to me because it, and I don't even have, like, I'm not even much of a Ninjago guy, but that looks completely awesome. It's just so big and crazy looking. I saw where Amazon had it back in stock after it had been out for quite a while. Kind of crazy looking. Oh, okay. Do you have a pretty big collection of modular buildings? Things like Assembly Square and that kind of stuff. That's funny. That's just what I was just asking you. No, I don't, but that's actually the one. It's actually one that really appealed to me. I've been seeing a lot of videos about it and things, and I think it's getting ready to retire, maybe. Am I right about that? I could be totally wrong. But it's something to where I may buy it in a panic before it retires. The Lego retiring. Yeah. Right. Ninjago City. I think it's pretty valuable these days. That was done for the Ninjago movie, right? Oh yeah. Yeah, this one has the crossover appeal. That's for sure. I guess there's been a couple of other Ninjago sets that were, huge DTC sets, D2C sets. I like to say DTC for some reason. Yeah, that diner, man, has always looked awesome. I definitely understand getting that because that thing is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Part of me kind of hesitates on buying the Ninjago City Gardens because I pretty much know it's going to be impossible for me to ever afford or track down the Ninjago City set or the Ninjago, I think it was Docks, right? The Docks set. So part of me is like, okay, you would never quite be complete if I did that, but Yeah, yeah, Diagon Alley. I was going to get that because they had it available for back order, and that was during the double points, the promotion. But once they announced the Daily Bugle, I kind of decided that was more where my heart was for now. But it's something I want to come back to. It's definitely something I've not wrote it off or anything like that because Diagon Alley looks incredible. I do kind of worry about space for it though, and I know that at least it can be broken down and it is modular and you can arrange it several different ways. So that's nice. Anyway, I get some options there. I mean, heck, if you really wanted to, I guess you could break down the Daily Bugle and display it in all sorts of crazy ways. Yeah, there's just a lot to it. But I never would have imagined Diagon Alley would have been, given that kind of great treatment. Oh yeah, yeah. Once you start getting into that kind of money with the bigger Lego sets, it's kind of like you have to ask yourself if it's worth it. Sometimes my internal logic doesn't win, and then I tell myself, "Oh, of course it's worth it." Always. Of course, I couldn't really imagine what it would be like to try to sell Lego sets and guarantee their completion because I don't know if I have the patience to go through and double check every single piece. Of course, it's kind of telling that doesn't really happen too often because it seems like every time I try to buy a used Lego set, it doesn't exactly go right. Yeah, the wildlife sets. Is that something you're going to focus on moving forwards and getting maybe more on some of those the wildlife stuff with the new animal sculpts that they're doing? I mean, they look pretty cool. All right. Looks like we're back to the fire escapes. Yeah, I saw somebody analyzing that, and I guess they're making you pay for all the brand new sculpts that they've developed for all the different animals. So I get it in a way, but if you're a price per part guy, and I like to see the value there for the parts. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? Of course, the city range of sets is just so vast at this point. I feel like I can't even keep up with what comes out. I couldn't imagine trying to get them all. I really like the deep sea exploration stuff that they've come out with, even though some of it is a little, it's kind of gotten a little simple for my taste. Oh yeah, yeah. I like to feel like it's kind of been an experience when I'm putting something like this together. So it's funny, like if I am trying to get an entire theme, what I'll do or an entire wave is I will often buy the very largest set in the wave first, And it's like, if I get that, I feel like I can kind of filter down to the other sets. But it does often seem like those are the ones that disappear first when a set is coming up for retirement or something like that. So the other ones are more likely to stick around or get clearanced, like at local stores. But, you know, Walmart, a lot of the times, they're not going to carry the bigger sets. It's like in that last wave of Hidden Side. You know, Walmart, I never saw any of my local Walmarts carry any of the bigger sets from that last wave, like the castle, which was really just a remake of the Vampire Castle from Monster Hunters. I had to eventually find mine at Meijer. That was the only big box retailer that was carrying those in stock. So that was kind of different. I'm guessing this is the last bit of fire escape that's in this bag, because I don't see any more red pieces. There's still plenty more pieces to do in this bag, though. There we go. We'll say that's Daredevil's extra long staff. Okay, got our ladder on there. Okay. Yep, and that just goes right on top of the other. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, I wish that I would have kept up with the Star Wars sets a little bit better. Really kind of hurts my soul that I didn't. I remember I really wanted the Ewok Village set and the Jabba's Palace set, but it just wasn't going to happen at the time. And then I'll tell you something that was really ridiculous that happened to me. I don't know how, but somehow I just totally, like, it completely escaped me that the Betrayal at Cloud City set came out. And I'm really into, like, you know, playset builds. And that thing was probably, you know, until I guess the Cantina, which is very similar in terms of size and scale. That was, you know, they're probably one of their biggest playset builds they'd come out with. And I saw it, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm actually going to buy this one, you know, for sure. And I hadn't bought a Lego Star Wars set in years. And I go and look, and this is the ridiculous part. That set had already retired. And I thought it was brand new. I thought it had just come out. I had never had that happen to me before, where I'd been totally oblivious until, I don't know how I missed it. I guess I just wasn't in that headspace. I wasn't even thinking at the time. I wasn't focused on Lego Star Wars. And I paid the price, so missed that one. I don't suppose I'll end up feeling the same way about the Cantina set. Yeah, that police station looks pretty cool. And Assembly Square looks really good. To me, Assembly Square is just a great way to expand, like, normal kinds of buildings in your Lego city. Like, to me, that is what the purpose of it is. It's supposed to be, you know, like a town square, a city block, whatever you want to call it. Of course, I know some folks who have actually stocked up on Assembly Square, and that's wild, in my opinion. You know, it's pretty nuts. But if you're a serious city builder or mock builder, then I get the appeal of Assembly Square. Lots of potential. You know, something like a segment of the Lego brand that I think is getting a lot better lately is the 3-in-1 Creator Expert series. I think those are getting really nice. You know, now we have the new castle coming down, and that looks really good. And the pirate ship they did last year, still on the shelves, that is super nice. And it's almost like Lego has developed a pattern with the 3-in-1 Creator Expert series, because it's like there'll be like a Lego Ideas set that resurrects an old theme like pirates or knights, you know, and it's what we saw with the Blacksmith's Workshop, which I got a little while back. And then Lego will capitalize on the hype by doing a creator set where they kind of like, I don't want to say ride the coattails because it's their property, but almost where they kind of join in with it. Oh yeah. Yep. I think that if there isn't play value there, then even, you know, even as like an adult fan of Lego, I don't really get much out of it. Because when I say play value, I mean, you know, can you interact with it? And to what extent can you interact with it? If there's really just nothing much to it and it's just a static model, I mean, that kind of thing has its place, and I would never, you know, down that, because there's plenty of people that's what they like. But for me, there needs to be some interactivity. I need to be able to display things on it and change things around as needed. I just want it to stay interesting. The Blacksmith's Workshop was really good about that. Lots of great display stuff, but also really just fun and lots of cool play stuff in there. Spider-Man No More. Love these newspapers. Love these newspapers, if I can say it right. I also like the idea that they have it like they're displayed, like in the Daily Bugle offices. That's really cool. I just have to find the right newspaper. Ah, here it is. Times Scare. Oh yeah, with the Green Goblin. I think that's from the first Spider-Man movie, actually. I could be wrong. That's what we need, an update of the Power Rangers costume, Green Goblin. It's being kind of unfair to the Power Rangers in a way, that old suit. Gee. I remember I was pretty disappointed when I was a kid and they shown how the Green Goblin was going to look in the 2002 Spider-Man movie. It wasn't what I expected or wanted. But at least Willem Dafoe was amazing as the Green Goblin, so I can't complain. Ah, now here's a newspaper. Well, we're going to get these guys, the civilian forms. Nelson and Murdoch win big lawsuit. That's right. Now that I have Daredevil, I'm not satisfied, and I want Matt Murdock. It's the hallmark of every high-quality fanboy. As soon as they get something, we just want something else. Right. There we go. And I think I'm supposed to do that a little differently. Yeah. There we go. I like this illusion that it's like a stack of newspapers they just have over to the side. I mean, it is a newspaper publisher, so I suppose that makes a modicum of sense. Apparently we have a small trash can down here. And a bottle of some sort. Maybe something will go in it and we'll get a little more clarification on why it's there. And looks like we have some chairs we have to assemble now. It's funny, these chairs are all very low to the ground. When you're a minifig, I suppose you don't, your legs can't hang down off the chair. They can only go straight out, so it's not like they need the height. Plenty of chairs. So now we're starting to see why some of those indentions are there for these swivel chairs. Of course, they can easily be turned around. These chairs have a very retro vibe to them. They almost look like chairs, like the plastic, like curved back chairs you would see in offices in the 70s or 80s. Okay. 6. So apparently we do this next part 3 times. Whenever that happens, I like to do each step 3 times rather than just repeat the whole thing at the end. To me, it's less monotonous if I just repeat each little building step and not all of them right after the other. I also feel like it's a little quicker this way. There we go. Then on top of each one, we add another layer. Okay, there's one done. Two. And a third and final here. And 3. And okay, these are maybe little filing cabinets, I think. Like little desks. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I think this is going to be a little office. Okay, that's cool. So one goes over here. And one over here. And one over here. And this one. And this one. Oh, this is cool. All these are just connected and are becoming desks. Kind of neat. It's amazing how quickly that this part came together. Seemed like in no time at all, we had all the middle of the floor completely covered. Oh yeah, that looks 10 times better. And I'm getting to see why they went with the yellow on the floor there, because it's just such a great contrast. All right, now time for random desk accoutrement. And lots of keyboards. At least those are printed. Ah! Almost took out the Sandman. Almost did what Spider-Man couldn't. Keyboard. Another. Coffee mug. Disposable coffee cup. Stack of newspapers. I feel like this one was the most repeated newspaper print that we've seen in the set. The No Crime Thanks to Spider Menace print. Seemed like we saw that one a lot. Maybe that's the most recent edition. That's why there's a bunch of copies of it laying everywhere. That's what I'm going to say anyway. Works for me. Oh, we're going to do a brick-built desk lamp, looks like the old style of desk lamp with the green over it. Okay. Even has a little gold attachment there. Yep, went the wrong way. Let's try that again. I'm not sure I've ever seen a piece quite like this. It's kind of weird. All right. That's kind of cool looking. Very nice. Okay, and this looks like a computer screen. And then we're going to place a decal on this. So going to be from the row of computer screens down here. It's this one, number 19. It's like a picture Spider-Man. Nothing would make J. Jonah Jameson happier. All right, let's see how we can do here. It's one of my actual least favorite things to put stickers on are little square monitors because you have to get them just right. Close enough. Every now and then I'll get lucky and get it pretty decent first try. That was one of those times. Okay, there we go. Little office nook there. It looks like now we're going to be building like the little column, or the big column, should I say, that's in the middle of the office. Has all the viewing screens, so there's going to be a lot of sticker work for this one, so it's okay. It's all right. I'd rather the decals be there and give it the added little oomph in terms of detail. All right. Almost looks like a little man with little arms up, and there's his eyes at the top. Ah! So some of these are just newspapers that go on the sides. Like this one. Looks like this one says, Spider-Man finally unmasked. I'm doubting it. I'm doubting it. So that one goes back here. Hey, man. Liking the prototype Boba Fett profile picture there with the white. Back in the days when I think George Lucas was just calling him a super stormtrooper or something. I think that's what it said on the artwork, if I remember right. Rhino Escapes the Zoo. Were they holding Rhino in a zoo? I don't know. A little questionable there on the kitty logic. This crazy looking piece. Which actually reminds me, every time I see Lego use that piece, it reminds me of the, I had a 12-inch Spider-Man or 10-inch, whatever it was, from Toy Biz back in the day. And he came with this like suction cup silver, big plastic silver web piece, which ironically is exactly what it reminds me of. So it's appropriate to remember that while building this set, I suppose. And this is when it's covered with 6 monitors. That's right, 6. So no lack of viewing here. What's crazy is I guess I'm not going to be reasonable and wait and do it beforehand. I'm going to wait and apply all of the stickers after they're all on here. So for whatever sense that makes for me to do, who knows? Okay, got all the monitors on the top. What about at the bottom? Guess that's what these are for. Boom, boom. There we go. Okay. And let's see if we can get these right. Because there are a ton. And we're going to use all of the monitor stickers down here at the bottom. And if I put them at the wrong spot, it's not a big deal. I can just switch monitors out. So it should be fine. Okay, that one's pretty decent. This is the kind of thing you'll drive yourself crazy if you try to get these 100% absolutely perfect. So and what can you do? That's pretty decent. We have, it looks like some repeated stickers. I guess these are supposed to be like, those down there are monitors that people are actually working on their computers. They're just rigged to this. Whereas these up here are television monitors. So you're going to have duplications of like news programs running at the same time. I could have done better on that one. I think I may attempt it again. Like I said, you can't get it perfect, but I guess we all have a certain standard for what we're willing to accept is close enough or not. And I think I could have done quite a bit better.